All right, guys, we're back. Another episode of Southern Comfort Podcast. I'm your boy, Big Rich.
Kevin Harris.
And we are back with our special guest, Maria.
Hello again.
You have a nickname?
I do, actually.
I've never given you a nickname.
Well, so I've always gone by Mari. Like Mari. Like M-A-R-I.
Mm-hmm.
That's really hard to pronounce for everyone in the U.S., so I just go by Maria. But my real name is Maria Andrea, which is Maria Andrea. And in Venezuela, we normally don't say Maria. We use, like, my mom is Maria Gabriela, so she's Maria Gabriela. You know, so she uses both, like, that's the full name. Yeah, but Maria is totally perfect.
So we're back. You know, we talked about sort of your origin story of what makes you a superhero or the GOAT. And I think I want to dive back into kind of where we left off. You spoke about your love of digital and marketing and branding. And I want to talk about something that Kevin and I have went over numerous times, that the Democratic Party has a branding problem, right? And one of those big branding problems is centered around how we market to the Latino community is we focus on immigration. And I kind of want to get to the dynamics of the Black and brown community and this misconception of, is there a fracture between it? Does the African American community or Black community support the immigration movement? It's all kind of the same thing. And I just want to get kind of your take on it. I know Kevin and I, we kind of wanted to wait till we had someone else on here like yourself to kind of help and lead that discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the listeners out there, we were cheating because we were talking about this beforehand. But I do think that it's a really, really important conversation and something we somewhat talked about a little bit in the first part of the podcast, that we are not all the same, right? Like, we need tailored messages for everyone. And we want to know, at least in the Latino community, immigration is a very, very important issue that we must talk about, particularly where we are in the current affairs of our country. But we also want to know about how can we set up our families for success. We want to know about how can we ensure that groceries are not going to be super expensive. You know, how can I ensure that, you know, my healthcare is covered? All these different issues that, you know, make different facets of who we are, I think need to be expanded upon a little bit more and really discussed, right? Because right now they're not being discussed.
And I think in sort of doing this work and having to kind of help build these coalitions. So I feel like what immigration is for you all, criminal justice is for us. So you'll have a candidate, they'll say, oh, we're about to go talk to the Black people. Cue up your criminal justice talking points. And there are lots of problems with that, right? But one of the problems is you presume that that's the only issue, right, that we care about. That's not true. It's not just criminal justice for Black people. It's not just immigration for brown people. You also assume, I guess, just based on our race, that we all have an experience with that, right? Not every Black person you talk to has been criminal justice involved, and not every brown person you talk to is an immigrant,
right?
Right? So you go into these communities just making those assumptions, and you end up talking to them about and met with messages and things that don't land with them because it has nothing to do with their lived experience. And even to the extent it does, right, it's still not as important as the price of eggs or gas or any of those other things, because they're just trying to go to work and raise kids and do all the other things just like everybody else. But that thinking comes, though, I think, from not having representation at the table when these decisions and these strategies are being debated, and when these decisions and these strategies are being made. And we've been talking about like the messaging and the branding in this business, that's where the bulk of the money goes. That's where the power is. The power is in the media people, right? These are the people who pick the messages. These are the people who decide how much goes behind those messages, who we target and how. And part of the reason I think we continue to fall flat as a party is because a lot of the people making those decisions don't look like the people we're trying to reach.
Yeah. Yeah. What?
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about this, but part of why I got into this was because I wanted to see more Latinas in leadership positions in organizations like these. And I really took a second to think, we talk about representation in the elected official level a lot, and it's so important, and we need to keep on talking about that. But we also need representation on the consultant, staffer levels, and not just, oh, let me pick that guy over there because, I want to make my website look better, right? It's because you need people that you're actually going to bring on in leadership positions who are making day-to-day decisions about both your clients, but also your administrative decisions within your organization that are going to benefit with the money that you're getting, because you can't just, do this because, oh, my firm looks so diverse because I got X, Y, and Z as my intern. No.
Yes.
You need to make sure that you're empowering people and setting them up for these positions, so they are able to actually drive the narrative and create the strategies that we know.
And, that reminded me too, I think like my first big job at a mail firm, I want to say, I forget how many employees we had at the time, but there were maybe 4 Black people who did anything with clients, right? That were client facing in any way. The rest of them, they were like either in like accounting or HR, or the mailroom. Which nothing wrong with those jobs or those careers, they're perfectly fine. But again, for a Democratic firm that's doing a lot of business to engage, Black people on this whole big old staff, there are only 4 of them that do anything client facing, that are even participating in these conversations about what the strategy should be, right? And oftentimes, especially in press, right, you go into these shops, and a lot of times, like, I'm just very critical, right, of campaigns and operations. Like, I go in and I count, and you're in a press shop that's traditionally not where the people of color are working, and you're in the press shop, and you don't get credit from me for having a person of color there in the position that you had to hire a person of color for. So, well, she does Spanish media. Okay. Well, that don't count.
Right.
That don't count. You had to hire a brown person for that. So who else you got? Well, we got, Antonio over there. What does he do? Oh, he does Black media. He don't count. You had to hire somebody Black there. So let's talk about what the actual numbers are. And Rich, we talk about this too, but one of the places where I felt like that I've been on a national race that did like a really good job of that, ironically enough, it was Hillary. It was Hillary. Like, we had policies, practices in place, where we achieved, I think, one of the most diverse staff that like I've ever been a part of on a national campaign. And I always say that as an example, because I don't think it necessarily shocks people, but it does prove that you have to just be intentional about doing the work. Because here it is, I'm just saying it just because it's true. White woman, but that campaign was more diverse than the Black guy that I worked for with Obama. So it's just true.
Again, right? But you also see it now with Black candidates or brown candidates, that they tend to stray away from hiring Black staffers.
A lot of times,
or even brown staffers, right? And I think I was pushing for someone to take a look at you for some stuff. And it's like they had already made up in their mind, oh, well, not realizing the amount of things that you have accomplished,
right? And
just the actual quality of work you bring to the table. And I think we're now kind of entering that new level of new leadership in the consultants world, right? And why it's important that we push you out and your voice out, and I want you to get out there more in terms of being more vocal about the great work that you're doing, because Kevin, you said it. You put a quote up, and you wouldn't you wouldn't know if it's from your mama or
From
from
my
Donald
mom,
Trump.
from Donald Trump, depending on the issue.
It's the same with my mother, right? Like, to the old class or the old guard of a Democratic voter, right? They have a fine line about what they want to support and what they don't want to support, and they can't see how this fracture of us supporting one another in this endeavor is going to continue to kind of to split us apart. So, like, what all is going on right now in terms of, like, we just had a big, huge weekend in terms of activism and, like, the No Kings protest. What does that kind of mean to you, just personally, right? Like, outside of the consultant's role, just to see, right, like, this is a moment where, um, something that is important to you and to others, is at the forefront right now. Like, what does that mean to, like, see it on the world stage, front and center, to this magnitude?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's incredibly important to ensure that we're out there and being vocal about this, but I don't want to understate the importance of things like the No Kings rallies. I think those are extremely important. We have to be out loud in front of everyone, right? But I think at the same time, the way that we protest, speak out, make our voices heard can look many different ways.
Yep.
And, the No Kings rallies are a critical piece that must happen. But there's an ecosystem of resistance, if you will. You can, it goes even from, if you are right now, specifically with all the ICE raids, if you are a Latino and, maybe your family members or your parents don't have, their super stable papers, right? You're the one going to pick up your sisters from school. You're the one going to do the groceries because you're scared to put them in a car and for them to get stopped. So it looks like, having conversations within your family, with your family members, that may not have, the ideas that you don't know if it was Donald Trump who said it. Having conversations within your own unit and, kind of achieving a consensus of what makes sense. So I do think that those No Kings rally are incredibly important, but I do want to kind of shed some light on the fact that, protesting and making a stance can look it can look very different and can take several different forms. And so I think it's really, really important to understand that that exists. But at the same time, the No Kings rally have to exist within that ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
And what next, right? Like, because you're humanizing the situation for a lot of people who really don't understand it. They're just going to go on what they see and what they get targeted on social media, right? Like, I myself, during that No Kings weekend, I tried to stay off social media. One, because my wife was in Philly, because she works for an organization that was heading that up. I didn't want to see anything that would kind of get me in a frenzy or worried to where, I need to make a phone call to, have her extracted out of Philadelphia because I didn't know. But also, I had already started to kind of see how I was being targeted. And I was being targeted in a way where it was continuing to add fire to the black and brown split of people trying to invoke or stoke a flame of, well, let's talk about how the brown community never supported our civil rights movement, and that misconception there, right? I wanted to kind of dispel a lot of that because we support our people in arms. We're there in the fight. I also think that we're also just fucking tired all around, right?
Yeah.
Like, everybody's just so exhausted,
Exhausted.
right? Like, particularly for us, because we've been on the front line for so long
Right.
about all of this, and we are in a sense, therapists, right? We hear the cries of our community. We hear the cries of the Black community, the brown community, the Democratic community, the activist community, right? The consultant community. So us in this triangle right here, we're extremely exhausted from just hearing everybody kind of like unload on us about what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of just like help humanize the moment a little bit more for people to hear from you directly about what you're seeing.
Yeah. So I've been, and I think you're absolutely right in that we play therapists. And I think it has been interesting because I've seen such a shift even within my family where a lot of people see me and they're like, you work in politics, let's talk about it. Let's talk on it.
Yeah.
But you see a lot of frustrations come out, and I think it is a time where I've seen that trend more and more, where people just want to talk about it, want to. In a lot of ways, it's not even that they want to talk about the facts; it's that they're in disbelief of what is happening, and so they want to come up with, a reasoning as to why all of these different things are going on. And so I think it's a huge part of that, and a huge part of the narrative that I'm hearing is that people are tired, and I'm tired.
I mean, it's crazy because because everybody has their own camcorder in their pocket, right? They're able to say whatever they want to say. Like in your line, how do you kind of combat misinformation? Right? Like not just on this specific topic, but across the board.
Yeah. Well, in a lot of ways, and funny that you mentioned that, shameless plug. So for our firm, which is First Edition Strategies, follow us.
That's right.
So the folks in the back.
That's right.
Strategies.com. Our slogan is cut through the noise, right? And this is something that we've been dealing with a lot. There's an oversaturation of information. Like you said, everybody has a phone. Everybody can make any sort of video claiming to be XYZ expert. And so a really great way to cut through the noise is to ensure that your message is targeted and you have resources put behind it. Because the reality is that we are at a time where organic, which we were talking about in the previous episode, which is free media, right? So you can put everything on social media, you can create a post, you can create a video. Everybody has access to that, particularly characters who may want to create some disarray and some chaos and may want to dispel disinformation. And so you have to be able to, as a candidate, as a elected official, you have to be able to rise above that noise and be able to communicate with the people who need to hear from you. That in a lot of cases is your constituents. I mean, if you are already in an elected position, you need to understand that all of this is going on and you have a responsibility to ensure that your constituents have the correct information about what's truly going on. And in a lot of cases, that does look like putting some resources behind it so that it does get to them.
And I would say too, like a big piece of misinformation too is that like the black and brown community has to stay divided, or that there's this irreparable breach, right? We know from like the last election, like we lost ground with both groups, right? But I think it's misinformation to look at that and just say, oh, that's a lost cause. We shouldn't try, right, to address that. And and I'll give you a couple ways in which we can do that. Number one, right, is misinformation. Every time we look on TV and we see a story about immigration, where they just show brown people, right? Black people, Caribbean folks, African folks, they have mixed status families as well, right? They're not going to be treated any differently by this administration, right? So that's the first piece of misinformation, that's the brown people's issue. It doesn't really impact us. Not true. Also, another big piece of misinformation too, I think, is that like our communities don't care about the same things, and that those issues are not the same issues that mobilizes us to go and vote, right? So one of the things that has always concerned me about like our messaging around immigration is we're too narrow, right? So you look at like everything that's been happening, like the raids and stuff like that, rightfully so. It is an outrage, right? Our message is basically Donald Trump is being mean to people. Well, we've been saying that for a long time. If it was just as simple as saying that, like we would have beat him, right? Like people know he's mean. That doesn't change their mind. That's not persuasive to them, right? But why isn't it that we're saying, and this goes to clearing up misinformation, why isn't it that we're saying these folks do contribute to our economy? These people actually help to power our economy by the work that they do in this country. And the way in which Donald Trump is going about this is going to make your life more expensive, right? It's going to make your groceries more expensive. And that's all that's happened since he's come into power. He's got a war now going on in the Middle East that's going to make your gas more expensive. The tariffs are making it more expensive for you to get your daily goods. And now, right, he's going to disrupt this critical part of our workforce that is paying taxes in the United States. That's going to make it harder for you to get food in your grocery stores and everything else. What about that would Black people be against?
Right.
Or not understand? What about that would the brown community be against or not understand? I think the brown community would say, thank you for seeing the whole issue of everything. Thank you for acknowledging that, for correcting that misinformation, that we don't pay taxes, that we aren't contributing, that we aren't doing that, right? But you don't see that, in our messaging. And so we got to really step up and elevate our game on the Democratic side, right? Because there is no getting around coalition building, right? The demographics, don't leave us any choice, right? We have to be able to build coalitions. So that means we have to be able to combat misinformation, like I just said. And we have to be willing to just not be lazy about this stuff and actually do the work. Like stop phoning it in and just saying, oh, brown people talk about immigration. Sit down with them in their communities and understand what is really going on, right? Talk to them about Medicaid being cut, right? They use it too. They use it too, so I just think that we have to have, so like even in this moment, there's a lot of talk around like if we're capitalizing on this from a political standpoint. I don't think so. I don't think we're any better off politically before those raids happened than now. I don't think Democrats put any points on the board here.
Yeah, and the thing is, actually, it's not even about Democrats. It's that Trump is sinking his own boat on this. So if it comes off as political, it's like he is, I mean, there has been this divide on, immigration, but the way that he has managed these ICE raids are so incredibly horrendous that he is tanking his rating through all of this. And we're not politicizing it. We're bringing light to it. We're shining a light on something that is completely dehumanizing to some of the nicest, hardest working people who are just looking for a better life, which is what we are all looking for, right? And when we talk about building coalitions, I mean, the Black community also looking for a better life. We are all striving towards a better life. How can I, get my kids to a good school? How can I, all these different things we have in common. So it's about building those coalitions.
Absolutely. And Black people are very well aware and familiar with the government being turned and weaponized against them. Right? Simple enough to put in an ad. You can go from the Edmund Pettus Bridge to the ICE raids. It's a part of our shared history, right, in this country. But I don't see us stepping up really in messaging and bridging all of that together. Now, what's funny, because I know we're like jumping around, but like I've said this on the show before, one of the things that excites me about 2028 that I think could really make the presidential primary interesting is if Ruben Gallego runs. He is like one of my favorite dark horse candidates, and I think he could really make some noise, right? But like I was just saying, and like what we were just talking about, a candidate coming up and bridging and weaving all of that together and doing it authentically in a way that actually moves us beyond some of this stuff and helps us to build that coalition that we're talking about. He's talented enough and positioned enough to where he could do it, and it could really help him break out. And he can not only do it between like black and brown, but he can also bring in that working class messaging and credibility. So, I'm gonna keep saying it. He's not from the South. He ain't Southern. But all I'm saying is if he gets in it, he could be real interesting. Yeah.
If you could give one bit of advice to the new DNC chair, what would it be?
Resign. Oh, wait a minute. Did I say that? Did I say that?
I'd say sit down and really listen, right? I think, and we touched on this a little bit, when you're in this field for so long, you might even accidentally think that you have all the answers. You have lived through so many different campaigns, so many different cycles, and you're like, I got it. This is it. But the context always changes. And new generations are always coming. And, I think it's really, really important to understand the context under which you are operating. And so sitting back and listening is really, really important.
Would you, we asked this question a couple of episodes ago, would you ever work for a Republican candidate?
So I'm not going to say no, but I'm not going to say yes either. It depends on the person, right? I think it would, that person would need to convince me.
You ever run for office? Have you ever thought about it?
I've thought about it. Oh man, I like my me time way too much. I think I'd probably.
I'm not hearing a no.
No, well, and here's the other thing. I really like the work that I do. I really like being behind the scenes and doing all this shit.
You're gonna get tired of it.
Who knows, right? Yeah. Stay tuned.
You're youngish. Has your bone started popping yet?
Oh, yeah.
Like, do you drop change on the ground and look at it for a little bit, like,
just like,
is it worth it? Is it worth that?
Anything under 50 cents,
Right.
You can just stay.
Listen,
right?
Somebody else can use it.
Right.
I call you a lot when I run into a first-time candidate that just, wants to do some of the craziest stuff. What is the craziest thing you've seen?
So I think I've gotten a lot of outreach from first-time candidates who will have, a really awesome, 30, 40-minute conversation. And it's not till minute 40 that they say, this is kind of a very specific one, but they were almost, it was like a week before election day. And they were like, oh, by the way, I only have $100 in the bank. And they were trying to do all these different things. And I believe in the power of those $100, but you shouldn't be spending it in what you are thinking about spending, right? So I think the way you spend your money is almost equally, if not more important than raising the money.
I always find it fascinating that candidates think that they don't need money to run a campaign.
Right.
They think that people are just going to do it for free.
Right.
Like,
well, you might have people that are going to do it for free, right? You might have this all volunteer army, but you know who's not going to do it for free? The TV stations aren't going to run your ad for free.
Right.
Right. You can't run digital for free.
Right.
Right. Even if you get nice people like us that'll produce it for you for damn near free. Right. You can't deploy it out to people, right, for free. So I don't know, that's the thing too about it, is that people decide that they want to run for office and get involved and stuff like that, which is great, but they don't really do the homework of what it actually takes to run and win. And then there's also that next level of preparation where it's just kind of like, now you could be a good candidate, but should you be? Should you be the person in this position? Because I don't know. Right. You know, so but when Rich was asking you a horror story, it reminded me, he's going to laugh when I say this. We had a client once who only wanted us to run ads on the days when it was raining.
Yeah.
Very interesting strategy.
Because that's when people are watching.
That's when people are watching because they can't be outside.
And knock on doors when it's raining, because that's a big philosophy of mine. That's the best time to knock on doors. That's when people are home.
They're home. Yeah.
Only run ads.
It's only run ads when it's raining.
I listen. Yeah. Well,
we didn't win that race, by the way, but maybe
because it also didn't rain. Global warming, right? No, I mean, listen. I think in this space we meet a bunch of interesting people. People's misconception of what politics is all about and what campaigns is all about is like, it's never a dull moment, right? And so, if you could give one piece of advice to a first-time candidate, what would it be?
One piece of advice is tough. I will say delegate. Delegate. Because a lot of times candidates think, particularly first-time candidates, will say, I can do it all. I can do it all. Don't worry about it. I'll do social media. I'll do fundraising. I'll do blah, 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 blah. And even if you don't have the resources at first and you do need volunteers, you need to be able to delegate these tasks because you cannot do it all yourself. You need help.
Listen, I've run into it more times than folks believe. All right. Well, what else do you want to touch on? This is your moment.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's pretty much it. Come to, check out firsteditionstrategies.com.
Yes.
We do a lot of really good work. And a lot of times if, folks just want to chat and kind of get an idea of what it takes to run for office or are already running for office, we're more than happy to chat through all those pieces. So definitely wanted to put that out there. And
what is it like working with your husband?
I was going to say, shout out to my husband. That was going to be my next thing. So
I know you want to punch him sometimes.
Well, but you know what? The funny thing is, and this is really cheesy, but Jake and I are best friends, like truly.
No.
And we both had been wanting to work with each other in this way for a long time. And that helps because we can be critical and honest when we have to be, but we can also be very empathetic and understand when you need a moment of compassion, when you need a moment of, I got to step back for a second. I can't deal with this right now. And so actually it has been very fun. And we get to gossip about all these candidates at home. So it's really fun. It's really fun.
I'm trying to get to like us to do more stuff together.
Yeah.
Because I feel like our wedding was like the perfect example of a Orr and Richard like event. And even like Thanksgiving, right? Thanksgiving was another one of those.
Yeah.
And like when we do something, we're very like detail oriented on things. And so like down to like napkins or just like certain things. And she doesn't not that she doesn't want to do it. I think she's still trying to prove herself in just like her industry where she is and just like in our organization.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, man, fuck them. Like we can let's get to this money.
Yeah.
But no, I commend you guys. I love like Jake, like he's a son, right? Like and I kind of saw that happening before it was happening.
Yeah, we'll have to do an episode about that, about how people find their spouses.
Yeah.
Stuff on campaigns.
Yeah.
I already knew it was going to happen. The minute he was, so Jake was over pulling interns in, and he said, "I got a crop coming in." I'm like, all right, we'll get him in, right? I'm like, but make sure you keep them in because they're not gonna stay. They're gonna get in here and realize it's not what they thought it was. And I think it was like maybe 5 of y'all he brought in, and you know, a couple of y'all stayed, but he was like, "Dude, I like her." I was like, "Oh, now,
Oh boy,
no. She's gonna be dope. She's good. She's good, and she's gonna take out this research." I was like, "Oh, okay, Jake," and I kind of knew it and saw it. So I'm glad it happened. Listen, I wish you guys would let me officiate the wedding. You know.
For the 10-year anniversary. Just wait.
Okay. All right. Well, that concludes it. Do we have a mama moment?
Yes. Now that we're talking about it, I'm gonna go ahead and give it to my husband, Jake Orvis.
nice.
Okay.
Who is hardworking
He is.
and
He is.
incredibly eager to help, and just has way too much energy sometimes. So I gotta give it to him.
Is he gonna be the first white boy that we have on here?
Why not?
You know,
Why not?
He's interesting.
Local.
He is, boy. Listen, yeah. If we have him on here, I'm gonna tell the Cory Booker story.
Yes.
Right? Like, and just thinking about it, I just want to cover my face.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. To Jacob Orvis.
Jacob Orvis.
State Farm Jake.
I knew. I mean, and I didn't say it because I'm like, how I'm sure that happens to him all the time, and it's probably really annoying. But the whole time, every time y'all say his name, that's what goes to
State
head
Farm.
from State Farm.
Yeah.
Always.
State Farm.
He was my intern when I was political director with the party, and you know how they say don't feed a stray. I fed him once and he never went away. So yeah, to Jake, I'll give my mama moment to him too, because I'm definitely proud. I'm proud of both of you guys and what you guys are able to accomplish. But I, am extremely proud at his trajectory and how he gets things, and he's able to understand, and he's very compassionate, right? Like he's an asshole, but he's
Those
my
are
kind
all
of
the nicest people.
Right.
That is true.
I mean, he learned from some of us, so to that young guy, you guys will meet him soon enough.
Nice.
All right, Kev, what you got for us?
I'm gonna give it to the South because I hope what people have been seeing, particularly in these last few episodes, is what talent actually looks like in the South. You got, we had Tamia on here. She's not a Southerner, but she talked about how she cut her teeth in the South, right? And then built a whole national career from that. And now just talking to you over these last couple of episodes, people I hope are hearing and understanding that we got talent here, and it is multifaceted. And we absolutely should have a seat at the table. Not just our candidates, right, but also our operatives, right? Like if you really want the party to get back on track and start winning, again, there has to be more diversity of the table. And it's not just diversity in terms of race and all of that. That's important. But it's also diversity in thought and approaches, right? And the way Maria would look at a problem or a strategic challenge or something is very different than how somebody else might who've had different lived experiences or who cut their teeth in a different part of the country. So it's not to say nobody else should be at the table. It's just to say we should be there too. So I give it to the South.
We coming for y'all. All right, Maria. Appreciate you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Of course. Anytime.
Welcome back.
Yes.
Anytime. All right, y'all. Appreciate you. Subscribe. Holla at you.
Peace.